I'm Maya, 28 years old, a nursing student just 3 months shy of graduation. I drove 6 hours home for Christmas, my car stuffed with carefully wrapped gifts. When I got there, the house was silent, no decorations, no usual chaos, just Grandma Eleanor eating microwave turkey in the kitchen. A sloppy note stuck to the fridge read, "Used your $10,000 loan for a family Caribbean cruise. Look after Grandma. Back in 4 days. Love you." Grandma looked at me, calm as ever, and said, "We'll sort this out." I could only nod. For days later, they were pleading. Want to know what happened next? Drop your location in the comments, hit like, and subscribe to hear how my family learned a hard lesson about messing with me. Trust me, it changed everything. I grew up in Springfield, Missouri, in a middle-class family. My dad, Harold, worked in sales, where unpredictable paychecks meant some months we were fine, others we barely got by. My mom, Diane, a part-time dental receptionist, always spent more than she made. My brother, Jacob, 2 years older, and sister, Olivia, 3 years younger, rounded out the family. Oh, and Grandma Eleanor, who moved in after Grandpa passed when I was 10. She was the rock in our messy, money-stressed home. While my parents were up and down, Grandma stayed steady, teaching me to budget, save, and plan, lessons they never quite grasped despite her efforts. Grandma and I were tight. When Mom and Dad fought over bills, I'd sneak into her den bedroom. She'd share stories from her youth or help with my homework. "You've got a sharp mind, Maya," she'd say. "You'll break this cycle." I gave it my all. After high school, I got into nursing school in Chicago. To make it work, I juggled jobs, waiting tables mornings, library shifts afternoons, and weekend work at a retirement home. Every cent went to tuition, rent for a tiny apartment, textbooks, and basics. That $10,000 loan was for my final semester, covering clinicals and exams. I'd dodged debt for nearly 4 years, but these last costs were too much for my jobs alone. That loan was my ticket to becoming a registered nurse with a steady paycheck. But my family's bad money habits sometimes bled into my life. Dad once took my used Honda, saved for over 2 years, and returned it with a busted transmission he couldn't fix. Mom borrowed for emergencies she rarely paid back. Jacob took textbook money and repaid it 3 months late after I'd charged my own books to a credit card. Olivia used my card for school supplies that were actually concert tickets. I always forgave them. They're family, and I loved them, flaws and all. But Grandma would shake her head and say, "Love doesn't mean being a pushover, Maya." Still, I made excuses. Christmas meant a lot to me. Even in tough years, my parents made it magical with lights, decorations, and Mom's sugar cookies, pushing money worries aside for a bit. As an adult, I kept that holiday spark, saving all year for thoughtful gifts. This Christmas, I planned extra carefully: an antique brooch for Mom, like her grandma's, a rare first-edition Western novel for Dad, high-end headphones for Jacob's music dreams, a leather portfolio for Olivia's art school work, and for Grandma Eleanor, a cashmere sweater and digitized family photos in a digital frame. Weeks before, I talked with my family. No one mentioned a vacation. Mom chatted about her church cookie swap, Dad grumbled about sales goals, and we planned who'd pick up Aunt Martha on Christmas Eve. Everything seemed set. The drive from Chicago to Springfield took 6 hours, longer with holiday traffic. I left at 5 a.m., coffee thermos in hand, Christmas tunes playing. Exhausted from exams and clinicals, I stayed pumped to see everyone. It had been 6 months since we were all together, and I craved home, imperfections and all. Driving down I-55, I watched Chicago's cityscape fade into Illinois fields, then Missouri's. I pictured Mom cooking, Dad glued to football, my siblings bickering over the remote, and Grandma knitting by a twinkling tree, the house smelling of pine and cinnamon. Those thoughts got me through traffic, gas station stops, and a quick drive through lunch. By the time I hit my hometown, the winter sun was setting, casting shadows over snowy yards. I was home. But the home I expected was gone. Turning onto Maple Street, something felt wrong. The Hendersons' house glowed with wild lights, and the Patels' porch sparkled with icicles, but our place was dark, no reindeer, no wreath, no window lights. I checked my phone. December 23rd, decorations should have been up weeks ago. Only Dad's old Buick sat in the driveway, not Mom's SUV, Jacob's junky Corolla, or Olivia's boyfriend's truck. My stomach twisted as I parked. Arms loaded with gift bags and suitcases, I trudged through light snow, odd, since Dad always shoveled. I fumbled the front door open. "I'm home," I called, stepping into a bare living room. No tree, no garland, no nativity scene. The house smelled stale, with a hint of microwave food. In the kitchen, "Dear," Grandma Eleanor's voice called, the only thing that felt like home in this strange return. I dropped my bags in the hallway and followed Grandma's voice to the kitchen. She sat at the table with microwave turkey and stuffing, wearing her usual house dress, not her festive holiday outfit. "Grandma, where's everyone? Where are the decorations?" I asked, my stomach tightening. Her face, etched with 82 years of wisdom, showed a mix of shame and anger. "I'm so sorry, Maya. They left yesterday." "Left? Where?" I asked, confused. She pointed her fork at the fridge. "Check it out." Under a Branson magnet was a note in Mom's flowery handwriting, complete with little doodles. I read it. "Maya, sweetie, snagged a last-minute Caribbean cruise deal. Too good to miss. Used your loan money. Hope that's okay. It's our family Christmas gift. Bills when we're back. Grandma can't travel with her mobility, so take care of her. Back in 4 days. Love, Mom, Dad, Jake, Liv Zoxo." I read it twice, stunned. The casual tone, hearts on the eyes, like taking my $10,000 was no big deal, like borrowing a jacket. I couldn't finish. "Left yesterday afternoon," Grandma said, her voice sharp. "Booked a cruise after a cheap deal popped up, paid with your money, packed, and we're gone in 3 hours. No decorations ever went up." I leaned against the fridge, crumpling the note. That was my loan, for my last semester, my clinicals, my certification. How could they? "You mentioned the money last week on the phone," Grandma said softly. "Diane asked about the joint account from when you started college." It hit me hard. That account, opened at 18 with my parents as co-signers for emergencies, still had their names. I used it for big expenses like loans, keeping daily spending separate. "They can't just take it," I said, but I knew they could. And they did. My phone buzzed. Numbly, I checked it, a social media tag. There they were, all 4, on a cruise deck with leis and tropical drinks. Surprise Christmas vacation. So blessed. Mom's caption read, "Posted 30 minutes ago." "They didn't take you," I said to Grandma, betrayal sinking deeper as I saw her frail figure. "My hip can't handle a ship, and they didn't want to cancel," she said with a bitter smirk. "Your dad promised me a souvenir." Nausea hit me, and my legs wobbled. I gripped the counter. "Maya, sit before you collapse," Grandma ordered, all business. I sank into a chair. "They stole from me," I whispered, reeling. "My own family." "They did," Grandma said bluntly, her anger clear, not defending her son. "And we're going to fix this." Her words barely sank in. My mind raced. No money, no clinicals, no graduation, no nursing license. For years of grinding, jobs, sacrifices, ruined by their selfish trip. "I need to check the account," I said, hands shaking as I grabbed my phone. A few taps confirmed it, $9,876 transferred to a travel agency 3 days ago. Every cent, gone. Calls to them went to voicemail. Texts sat unread. More cruise photos popped up online, each one a fresh wound. "Let's snoop," Grandma said. "See what else we find." In the home office, we found cruise brochures, travel guides, and luggage tags. In my parents' closet, empty hangers where summer clothes should have been. In the trash, boarding passes to Miami. It wasn't a mistake or an emergency, they planned this. They chose this, I said, collapsing onto their bed. Maybe not for long, but they saw the deal and used my money. Grandma sat beside me, her hand on mine. Your dad always takes what he wants, she said quietly. I didn't raise him right. I shook my head, numb. It's not your fault. Maybe not fully, she said. But now we act. We called my school's financial aid office, holiday voicemail, closed until January 3rd, same with my advisor. Panic set in. I can't take another loan, I said, pacing the kitchen as Grandma watched. I'm maxed out. Without that money, I'm done. You'll finish, she said firmly. We'll find a way. But with their betrayal all around me and my future at risk, I couldn't see how. I hauled my suitcases and useless gifts to my old bedroom, unchanged since I left for Chicago 4 years ago. Nursing pioneer posters, science textbooks, medical journals, and my high school acceptance letters pinned to a corkboard stared back at me. On my twin bed, surrounded by my younger, trusting self, I broke. Sobs tore through me, for their betrayal, for risking my future, for the gut punch that my family chose their fun over me. A soft knock at my door, and Grandma Eleanor walked in with a steaming mug of chamomile tea, her cure for everything. She set it on my nightstand and sat beside me, her small frame barely denting the mattress. Her weathered hand rubbed slow circles on my back, like when I was a kid with nightmares. Let it out, Maya, she whispered. You deserve these tears. When my sobs eased, leaving me red-eyed and hiccuping, she handed me the tea and tissues. Now we talk, she said firmly. For 2 hours, we talked, not just about this mess, but the pattern behind it. This isn't new, is it? Grandma asked, already knowing the answer. No, I admitted, memories rushing back. At 16, I saved $800 from my library job for a school laptop. Dad took it for an investment that vanished. Your college fund? She pressed. I winced. Mom and Dad set it up when I was born, but by college, only $3,000 remained. They'd spent the rest on vacations, a kitchen remodel, and Jacob's car. Then my first car, I said, the past flooding in. I bought it myself, but Dad used it whenever. Once, he returned it with a broken transmission, $2,000 to fix, more than the car cost. He promised to help but never did. And Jacob? I sighed. He borrowed $500 for textbooks, swore he'd repay in 2 weeks. 3 months and endless nudges later, he did, but I'd already charged my books to a credit card, racking up interest. And Olivia? She used my card for concert tickets, claiming it was for art supplies. That sting was smaller but still hurt. Grandma nodded slowly. See the pattern, Maya? I did, clear as day, though I'd ignored it before. They've always taken advantage of me. And me, too, she said, standing stiffly to grab a high school photo album from my shelf. Flipping through it, she shared her own stories, Dad convincing her to sell her house to move in, promising a nice den, then using the money to clear their credit card debt, her social security checks vanishing from her purse, her jewelry, even her wedding ring, disappearing during tough months. Why didn't you speak up? I asked, stunned. Same as you, she said with a sad smile. Love, shame, hoping they'd change. My phone buzzed, more social media alerts. I opened them to see my family ziplining, swimming with dolphins, dining fancy on the cruise. They grinned, carefree, like they hadn't crushed me. My messages sat unread. They're ignoring me, I said, tossing my phone in frustration. They know it's wrong, Grandma said sharply. It's easier to act like nothing happened. That evening, I was in a fog, leaving voicemails that went unanswered, sending emails that got holiday auto-replies, and crunching numbers that offered no fix. Even draining my savings, I was $5,000 short for my final semester. Sleep wouldn't come. I stared at the glow-in-the-dark stars I'd stuck on my ceiling at 12, my mind spinning. Drop out so close to graduation? Take a semester off, losing my clinical spot? Beg the school for help? Every option felt hopeless or degrading. Past midnight, I heard Grandma in the hall, her voice sharp on the phone. Harold James Wilson, pick up. I know that ship has service. A pause. No, I won't call tomorrow. Get Diane on, too. You both need to hear this. Another pause. What you did to Maya is shameful, and you'll face consequences. Her voice faded. Exhaustion finally pulled me into uneasy dreams of drowning in loan papers while my family sailed by, laughing as I begged for help. Morning brought no comfort. I woke knowing I had 15 days to find nearly $10,000, or my nursing degree, and the stable life it promised, was at risk. I showered and dressed like a robot, then trudged downstairs. Kitchen noises told me Grandma was up. You look wrecked, she said bluntly as I walked in. Feel it, too, I muttered, grabbing coffee. Sit, she ordered. I've got ideas. Too drained to argue, I sat, numb from shock, a hollow shell of the hopeful student who'd driven home a day ago. Grandma set scrambled eggs and toast in front of me. Eat. I'll talk, she said. The next morning, I woke to coffee and the smell of something sweet baking. For a second, I thought it was a nightmare. Then reality hit, and my stomach sank. I dragged myself out of bed to find Grandma in a sharp pantsuit, white hair neat, makeup on, sitting at the kitchen table with my laptop and notebooks. Fresh cinnamon rolls cooled nearby. You're awake, Grandma said, eyes glued to my laptop. Coffee's ready. Grab some and sit. I poured a mug and snagged a cinnamon roll, though my stomach wasn't interested. You're full of energy, I noted, seeing her unusual morning hustle. I am, she said, looking up with a determined glint behind her glasses. Up since 5, planning. Planning what? Operation Consequence, she answered with a grim smile, turning the screen to me. She'd made a detailed spreadsheet with tabs. Surprise, your grandma's not clueless with tech. I've taken community center classes for years. Impressive, I said, despite my exhaustion. What's this? Our plan to fix your family's mess, she said, pointing to the screen. Tab 1, Financial Options. 2, Legal Steps. 3, Action Timeline. 4, Resources and Contacts. I blinked at her thoroughness. Grandma, I love this, but I'm stuck. I've called everyone, and with the holidays, there's always a way, she cut in firmly. It won't be easy, but we'll find it. She laid out her plan. First, she had a secret savings account hidden from my parents. Not much, she said, but enough to cover your tuition temporarily if we can't get your money back. No way, I protested. That's your retirement. It's a loan, she corrected, voice like steel. Documented, and they'll repay me with interest. Her tone left no room for debate. Besides, she softened, why save for my future if I can't secure yours? You're the responsible one, Maya. You're my best bet. Tears welled up, but not from pain. I don't know what to say. Say you'll stop letting them walk over you, she said bluntly. Love without boundaries makes monsters. I learned that too late with your dad. You can learn now. For an hour, she shared how she'd enabled Dad's bad money habits, giving in to his tantrums, excusing his recklessness. Grandpa warned her they were raising an entitled man, but she didn't listen. The pattern repeated with my siblings. Your moms know better, she added. Diane wants luxury on a budget. They fuel each other's worst habits. But what now? I asked. Even if we cover tuition, they stole my money. Phase 2, Grandma said, flipping to another tab. Consequences. Her plan was tight. They'd left loose ends, took all house keys but didn't change the security code, left the fridge empty, bills unpaid, no mail arrangements. They expected you to clean it up, she said, like always. Her operation consequence was thorough. She'd researched legal issues with misused loan money. She called the cruise line, pretending to be mom, to confirm their return. She got her friend Terry, a retired lawyer, to help draft a repayment agreement. "We'll be ready when they're back," she said. No drama, no excuses, just firm consequences they can't dodge. The plan rolled out like clockwork. First, we called a locksmith to change the house locks. "They took the keys and left us," Grandma said. "They don't get free access." Then, we inventoried valuables to secure. "I don't think they'd sell heirlooms," she said, "but we're not risking it." She'd already photographed the empty account, cruise posts, and their note. "Maya," she said seriously, reviewing the plan, "you need to stand strong. They'll cry, yell, guilt trip you, say you're overreacting or it's a misunderstanding. They'll promise to pay later, on their terms." I nodded, knowing she was right. "You have to say no," she pressed. "Their actions have consequences, and they start now." "What if I cave?" I whispered, scared I'd fold like always. She gripped my hands, her frail fingers strong. "You won't. I'm with you, and I've got 82 years of stubbornness." I managed a small smile. "Plus," she added with a spark in her eye, "I've got backup." Her friends were a powerhouse, Terry drafting the legal agreement, Martin the locksmith offering a discount, her bridge club ready as witnesses for the showdown. "Old doesn't mean weak," she said proudly. With new resolve, I jumped in. I called my school's emergency aid line, documenting the issue for when offices reopened post-holiday. I locked our important papers in Grandma's bank safe deposit box. I helped move valuables to her sister's house nearby. By evening, locks were changed, valuables secured, theft documented with bank records and screenshots, and the repayment agreement started with Terry's help. "Now the hard part," Grandma said over a simple dinner. "Getting ready emotionally." She was right. The tasks were easy, but facing my family's guilt trips and manipulations terrified me. "They'll call me selfish," I said, poking at my food, "say they needed a break, that I'm blowing this out of proportion." "And you'll say?" she prompted. I took a deep breath. That stealing my money was wrong, actions have consequences, and I need it back now or a signed repayment plan. "And if they refuse?" Grandma's question lingered. What would I do? The answer came faster than I thought. "I'll file a police report for theft and tell the school they misused my loan." Grandma nodded, approving. "It won't come to that. They're reckless, not dumb, but they need to see you're serious." "I am," I said, my voice firm, surprising me. "This is my future, my life. I've worked too hard for them to ruin it over a vacation." "That's my girl," Grandma said, her smile proud. "Let's practice what you'll say when they guilt trip you." That evening, we role-played. Grandma, a natural actor, mimicked Dad's loud demands, Mom's teary excuses, and my siblings' dodges. Each round made me sharper, my resolve tougher. By bedtime, I felt ready to face them like never before. "Remember," Grandma said as we said goodnight, "this isn't just for you. It's for them, too." Love means setting boundaries. Without consequences, they'll never grow. In bed, I thought about how 2 days flipped my world. I came home for Christmas joy and found betrayal. But I also found my own strength in Grandma's fierce support. Tomorrow, more prep. The next day, they'd be back, and everything would change. Day 1 broke cold and crisp. Over coffee and toast, Grandma and I reviewed our plan. "Locksmith at 9, she said, checking her neat schedule. "Martin's giving us his first slot. And Terry's at 11 to finalize the repayment agreement," I added, a strange calm settling in. Having a plan made it all feel doable. Martin, a lively 70-something with rough hands, arrived on time. Eleanor told me, he said, eyeing the doors. Awful, family doing that. My nephew went through something similar. In 2 hours, Martin swapped all the exterior locks and added a programmable keypad on the front door. Temporary code for now, he said, showing me how to reset it. You decide who gets in once they make things right. The control felt new. I'd never had this power before. After Martin left, Grandma and I photographed and filmed the house, bare rooms, empty fridge, unpaid bills stacked on the counter, proof of how they left it. Terry arrived next, a sharp 60-something with a silver bob and no-nonsense vibe. Eleanor briefed me, she said, waving off coffee. Let's get to it. Her repayment agreement was solid. It listed the $9,876 they took, set a payment plan with light interest, and warned of legal action if they missed payments. It's a starting point, Terry said. Negotiate from strength, they wronged you. After she left, we tackled practical stuff, grocery shopping to restock basics, collecting piled-up mail, paying urgent bills. Add it to their tab, Grandma said darkly as we paid the overdue electric bill. By evening, the house was secure, everything documented, paperwork ready. Confidence grew in me, like armor forming. Good job today, Grandma said over dinner. Tomorrow, we planned for what-ifs. Day 2 brought new blows. Mom posted more cruise photos, one captioned, "Best family trip ever." So grateful. Calling me and Grandma family while using my money hurt deep. Worse, my bank flagged attempted charges from the cruise gift shop, declined, but they'd tried my credit card, too. Unreal, I said, showing Grandma the alert. They took $10,000 and still want more. Entitlement feeds itself, she said, unfazed. Report it as fraud. I called the bank, and a kind rep froze my card and flagged the account. The rest of the day, we organized files and prepped for outcomes. Grandma's friend Beth, a retired social worker, came to practice emotional showdowns. They'll hit your weak spots, she warned. They know them because they made them. Beth nailed Mom's role, crying, "After all we've done for you, this is how you treat us?" I practiced staying cool. This isn't about your sacrifices. It's about the $10,000 you took without asking. House access comes after we settle this. By evening, I felt tougher, though nerves lingered. The cruise tracker showed their ship due back in Miami soon. Almost time, Grandma said, squeezing my hand. Day 3 was final prep. What if they wouldn't sign? Made a scene with neighbors or police? Walked away? We planned for each. Legal steps were noted, a rental car booked for a quick exit if needed, and our support team confirmed. We're not punishing them, Grandma said, reviewing our work. We're setting boundaries and consequences. I nodded, but part of me wanted to punish them, for their careless betrayal, for risking my future for their fun, for abandoning Grandma without a thought. That night, a text from Mom popped up, having a blast. Flying back tomorrow. Dad's work had a small issue. Home by dinner. Can't wait to share stories. Love you. No word about my money, no hint of guilt, no sorry. Here we go, Grandma said, seeing the text. Acting like it's all fine. I left it unanswered. Day 4 started with light snow, making everything feel unreal. This should have been Christmas morning, us around a tree, opening gifts. Instead, Grandma and I sipped coffee at the kitchen table, eyeing the clock. Their flight had landed, a text from Olivia confirmed they'd grabbed their bags and were in a rideshare home. Grandma's crew showed up, Terry with legal papers, Beth with her social work know-how, Martin for lock issues, and 3 bridge club ladies for backup. They filled the living room, a silver-haired support squad. Thanks for being here, I said, touched. We look out for our own, Terry said simply. Eleanor's always had our backs. A security alert pinged, a car in the driveway. Through the window, I saw my family, sunburned and lugging souvenirs, laughing as they unloaded. My heart pounded like a drum. Grandma stood beside me, her small hand in mine. Know who you are, she said softly. Know what you're worth. I squeezed her hand and nodded as the doorbell rang. Showtime. The bell rang again, sharper. I took a deep breath, shared a look with Grandma, and went to the window, not the door. Peeking through the curtain, I saw Dad reaching for his keys. Maya, Mom called, spotting me, we're home. Open the door, it's freezing. I hit the intercom on the new security system. I see you, I said, voice steadier than I felt. Why don't your keys work? Dad's face appeared, confused, then mad. What the hell? Did you change the locks? Yup, I said plainly. We need to talk first. This is absurd, Dad snapped, his tan not hiding his red face. It's 20 degrees, we've been traveling all day. Let us in. We can talk via the doorbell camera, I said, as Grandma turned it on, or agreed to calmly discuss my student loan money. Their faces on the screen showed it all, Dad furious, Mom confused, Jacob sheepish, Olivia worried. What are you talking about? Mom asked, eyes dodging the camera. Let us in, we'll talk inside. I mean the $10,000 you took without asking, I said clearly, my nursing school money you spent on your cruise. Silence hit. Dad spoke first, his sales voice on. Hold on, we didn't steal. It was a family account, a once-in-a-lifetime deal. We deserved a break after this year. That doesn't cover why you didn't ask, I shot back, or why you left Grandma alone with no real plan. Mom was fine, Mom jumped in. We'd pay you back, of course, after the holidays. With my money, I said, that I needed for school. Mom's face turned pleading. Sweetie, you're blowing this up. We're family, we share. Let us in, we're freezing. Grandma stepped up. Entry comes with conditions, she said firmly. Dad's face darkened. Mom, you're in on this? This is between us and Maya. You left me, too, Harold, Grandma said, with no talk, no setup, just a note dumping me on Maya like I'm a chore. We knew Maya was here, Mom said, defensive. The ship wasn't good for your mobility. Convenient, Grandma said dryly. Jacob finally spoke, mostly quiet till now. This is dumb. It's our house, too. You can't lock us out. Actually, we can, I said. Until we settle my money. Repayment? Mom repeated, like it was a new word. We'll pay you back, honey, eventually, when things calm down. I pressed, how? With what? Their shifty eyes and silence said it all, no plan, never was. Here's the deal, I said, borrowing Grandma's calm strength. We've got a repayment agreement. You'll read and sign it. Then we talk about the house. This is crazy, Dad exploded. You can't do this to family, after all we've done. Something in me toughened. What have you done, Dad? Took my college fund? Ruined my car? Used my loan while I worked 3 jobs for school? He opened his mouth, but nothing came out. Neighbors started noticing. The Patels watched from their driveway, Henderson kids pressed against their window. Maybe we take this somewhere private, Mom said, embarrassed. Agreed, I said. Coffee shop, 3 blocks away, 15 minutes to talk terms. In this weather? With our bags? Dad griped. Your call, I shrugged. Porch talk with neighbors watching, or private chat at the coffee shop? I asked. They whispered frantically. Mom finally faced the camera. Fine, coffee shop, but just you, Maya, not Grandma's friends. She'd spotted Terry, the local lawyer, through the window. Non-negotiable, I said. Terry and Grandma come. Others stay here. More whispers, then grudging agreement. They shuffled back to their waiting rideshare. 15 minutes later, we sat in Magnolia Coffee's back corner, its Christmas lights and garlands clashing with our grim faces. Terry set a folder on the table. "This is a binding repayment agreement," she said sharply. "It details the $9,876 taken from Maya's account and sets a payment plan." Dad didn't touch it. "This is nonsense. We're family, not some legal case." "Family doesn't steal from family," Grandma said plainly. "We didn't steal," Mom snapped, loud enough for a barista to glance over. She quieted. "It was a mix-up." "What mix-up?" I asked softly. "Knowing it was my loan money? Not asking me? Knowing I needed it for school?" No one answered. Jacob spoke up. "It's done. The money's gone. We can't just give it back." "Hence the repayment plan," Terry said, tapping the folder. "Starting with $1,000 from your flight refunds." My head jerked up. Flight refunds? My parents exchanged guilty looks. "We changed our return flights," Mom admitted. "Originally for December 27th, but Dad's work had an issue." "So, refunds are coming," Grandma said. "Those go to Maya." They shifted uncomfortably. Dad skimmed the agreement, scowling. "These terms are impossible. We can't pay this fast." "Then I'll have to explore other options," Terry said calmly, like reporting the misuse of loan funds, which could spark school and lender investigations. Mom paled. "You wouldn't do that to family." "I didn't want to," I said honestly. "I wanted a Christmas with you, then to finish my degree." "You changed that, not me." Olivia broke her silence. "Mom, Dad, she's right. We took her money without asking." "That's wrong." Her support shifted the mood. Mom's defiance softened, Dad looked unsure. "Also," Terry added, "we need to address the cruise gift shop charges on Maya's card." "What charges?" Dad asked, glaring at Mom. She flushed. "I tried to buy souvenirs. I thought it was okay." "After taking $10,000? Grandma asked, stunned. For nearly an hour, we went in circles, denial, anger, excuses, blame. Jacob backed our parents, Olivia grew uneasy, quietly siding with me at times. Snow fell outside, piling on sidewalks. Inside, our tension eased slightly. "What if we don't sign?" Dad asked, pushing the papers away. "You don't get in the house," I said simply, "and I pursue legal recovery." "You'd leave us homeless at Christmas?" Mom asked, tears starting. "You'd take your daughter's school money for a cruise?" Grandma shot back. The standoff lingered. Terry checked her watch. "I've got another meeting in 30 minutes. Decide now." As the snowflakes danced lazily under the streetlights of our small Midwestern town, I stood in the dimly lit diner, the air thick with the scent of greasy fries and stale coffee. My heart pounded like a drum in my chest, echoing the tension that had been building for years. Dad's eyes locked onto mine, and for the first time, I saw a flicker of something new, not the dismissive glare he reserved for my overreactions, but a genuine reassessment. Was he finally seeing me? Not as his compliant, pushover daughter who always smoothed things over, but as Maya Wilson, a 25-year-old nursing student who had drawn a line in the snow-covered sand. "We can't pay it all back right now," he said, his voice softening from its earlier hostile bark. There was a weariness in his tone, the kind that comes from realizing the game has changed. He leaned back in the vinyl booth, his broad shoulders slumping slightly under his worn flannel shirt, the one he'd worn to every family gathering since I was a kid. I nodded, keeping my composure even as adrenaline surged through me. "The agreement doesn't expect that," I replied calmly, sliding the printed pages closer to him across the sticky table. "It's about good faith. A partial payment now to show you're serious, and a structured plan for the rest." We can work out the details together, but this is non-negotiable. The diner buzzed faintly around us, clinking silverware, muffled conversations from other patrons bundled in winter coats, but in our booth, the world narrowed to this moment. Mom fidgeted with her napkin, twisting it into knots, her face pale under the fluorescent lights. Jacob, my younger brother, slouched in his seat, scrolling through his phone with faint disinterest, while Olivia, my sister, shot me worried glances, her eyes pleading for peace. Grandma sat beside me, her frail hand resting on my arm, a silent pillar of support. After what felt like an eternity of tense silence, Mom reached out and snatched the agreement from the table. Her fingers trembled slightly as she scanned the words I'd meticulously typed up the night before, outlining the $5,000 they'd borrowed from my student loans without asking, money meant for my tuition, now squandered on their impulsive Christmas cruise. "We'll sign," she whispered, her voice barely audible over the hum of the old heater. "But Maya, we were always going to pay you back." This formality wasn't needed. "We're family." I bit back the sharp retort bubbling up, something about how family shouldn't mean endless exploitation. Instead, I exhaled slowly, sensing the fragile victory unfolding. "I know you meant well," I said, though the words tasted bitter. "But intentions aren't enough anymore. This protects all of us." They signed one by one, pens scratching against the paper like reluctant confessions. Dad went last, his signature jagged and hesitant, as if each loop of the W in Wilson cost him a piece of his pride. He pushed the papers back toward me with a grunt, avoiding my gaze. "Can we go home now?" Jacob muttered, shoving his phone into his pocket. His tone was laced with teenage sullenness, the kind that masked deeper discomfort. "Yes," I said, gathering the documents into my folder with steady hands. "But remember, things are changing starting tonight." As we bundled up and stepped out into the biting December cold, the snow crunching under our boots, I felt a mix of relief and resolve. The streets were quiet, blanketed in white, with holiday lights twinkling from neighbors' porches like distant stars. But our walk home wasn't silent. I used those few blocks to lay out the new rules, my voice cutting through the frosty air. "First, the house codes on the locks will be temporary, only I have the master access until trust is rebuilt," I explained, watching their reactions. "We'll track all finances openly, no more secret spending." "And Grandma's social security checks?" "They go straight into her account from now on, no detours." Mom pulled her coat tighter, her breath visible in puffs. "This feels like punishment, Maya. Like we're criminals in our own home." "It's not punishment," I corrected firmly, stopping under a street lamp to meet her eyes. "It's consequences. There's a big difference. Punishment is about hurt, consequences are about learning and preventing more pain down the line." By the time we reached our modest two-story house on Elm Street, the one where I'd grown up amid laughter and chaos, the weight of those words hung heavy. The porch light cast long shadows as we climbed the steps. Inside, the warmth hit us like a reluctant embrace, the familiar scent of pine from the half-decorated tree mixing with the faint aroma of leftover turkey. Most of Grandma's friends had dispersed after the earlier confrontation, their sympathetic murmurs fading into the night. Only Martin, her longtime neighbor and confidant, lingered by the door, jingling a set of new keys. "I installed the smart locks as you asked," he said to me with a nod, his voice gruff but kind. "Everything's set up on your app." He glanced at my family, offering a polite smile before excusing himself into the snow. They filed in quietly, shedding coats and boots in the entryway. The living room looked stark now, no more piles of extravagant gifts under the tree, no festive garlands hiding the cracks in our family facade. I'd cleared it all earlier, leaving only the essentials, a stack of unpaid bills on the kitchen table, basic groceries in the pantry, no more luxury items funded by my loans, and a notepad for expense tracking. "Welcome home," I said, my voice echoing slightly in the subdued space. The weight of the change settled over us like fresh snow, muffling the usual holiday cheer. That first night was oppressively heavy, a storm cloud trapped indoors. My parents retreated to their bedroom almost immediately, the door clicking shut with finality. I could hear muffled voices through the walls, Dad's low rumble, Mom's occasional sniffle, as they grappled with the burden of facing their actions. Downstairs, Jacob oscillated between sulky silence and forced attempts at humor, cracking flat jokes about family prison that fell flat in the tense air. He sprawled on the couch, flipping channels on the TV, but his eyes kept darting to the fridge where I'd posted a copy of the agreement. Olivia, ever the peacemaker, tried to bridge the gap. She hovered in the kitchen, helping me unpack the groceries I'd bought with what little cash I had left. "What do you need for school, Maya?" she asked softly, her hands busy organizing canned goods. "Books? Supplies? I could help shop online." Her genuine effort touched me, a small light in the gloom. "Thanks, Liv," I replied, managing a smile. "Just focus on your own stuff for now. We'll get through this." Grandma, at 84, remained the steady anchor. She moved with quiet grace, her silver hair catching the light as she prepared a simple tea. Later, as we washed dishes side by side, the warm soapy water a soothing contrast to the emotional chill, she pulled me aside. "This isn't about inflicting pain, dear," she whispered, her wise eyes meeting mine. "It's about fostering real change. You've given them a mirror, and sometimes that's the hardest gift to receive." Over the next week, the pushback came in waves, testing my resolve like relentless winter winds. My parents chafed under the new transparency rules, grumbling every time I asked for receipts or access to their bank apps. Dad, in particular, tried to reclaim his old authority, making unilateral decisions like skipping a utility payment to save for something else. It culminated in a heated argument over the electric bill one evening, the kitchen table strewn with envelopes and calculators. "I'm the head of this house," he bellowed, his face reddening as he slammed his fist lightly on the wood. "I've provided for this family for decades. Who are you to question me?" I stood my ground, arms crossed, the agreement clutched in one hand like a shield. "And I'm the one holding you accountable now," I shot back, my voice steady despite the knot in my stomach. "The agreement you signed demands transparency, Dad. No more hiding behind head of the house when it means dodging responsibility." The room fell silent, the only sound the ticking of the wall clock. Mom hovered in the doorway, wringing her hands, while Jacob and Olivia exchanged uneasy glances from the living room. Slowly, their resistance began to crack. The repayment contract, magnet prominently on the fridge door, served as a constant, unignorable reminder, a beacon of accountability amid the holiday remnants. They made the first payment a few days later, a tangible step forward. It came from refunding the unused portions of their cruise tickets and selling off some trinkets they'd bought on the ship, gaudy souvenirs that once symbolized their escapism. Dad transferred the money to my account via app, his fingers hesitant on the screen, while Mom snapped photos of the receipts as proof. "There," he said gruffly, handing me his phone to verify. "Happy now?" "It's not about happiness," I replied gently. "It's about progress." That $800 felt like more than money, it was a crack in the wall of denial. Grandma's authority proved invaluable during these skirmishes. When Dad tried to guilt-trip me one afternoon, lounging in his recliner and muttering about how I was treating them like renters in their own home, she stepped in with the precision of a seasoned matriarch. "Harold James Wilson," she said, her voice sharp and maternal, using his full name like she did when he was a mischievous boy. "You caused this mess, not Maya. She's doing what I should have done years ago, teaching you responsibility instead of enabling your entitlement." Her words hung in the air, deflating his bluster. Dad mumbled an apology and retreated, but I saw the shift, a grudging respect beginning to form. Meanwhile, Grandma's secret loan, a modest sum she'd squirreled away from her pension, covered the immediate gap in my school costs. It allowed me to start my final clinical rotations on time at the University Hospital in Chicago. Knowing my nursing degree was secure lifted a massive weight, freeing me to focus not just on textbooks and patient simulations, but on mending our fractured family from afar. 2 weeks after that fateful Christmas Eve, I packed my bags and headed back to Chicago, the train ride a blur of snowy landscapes and introspection. The physical distance provided much-needed clarity for everyone. Our weekly video calls became structured check-ins, blending awkward updates with glimmers of hope. Dad shared screens of his weekend consulting gigs, small jobs in IT that supplemented his retirement income, while Mom proudly displayed listings of household items she'd sold online, old vases, and used kitchen gadgets, even some of her designer purses. "You wouldn't believe how much that blender fetched," she said during one call, her laugh tentative but genuine. "We're making it work, Maya." My siblings' transformations surprised me the most, blooming like unexpected spring flowers after a harsh winter. Jacob, who had initially fought the changes tooth and nail, storming off during family meetings and blasting music to drown out discussions, began to turn a corner. 3 weeks into my semester, during a late-night video chat, he held up his phone to show me a budgeting app he'd downloaded. Graphs and pie charts filled the screen, tracking his earnings from extra shifts at the art studio where he worked part-time. "I didn't realize how much you were carrying for all of us," he admitted, his usual cocky grin replaced by sheepish humility. "It wasn't right, sis. I'm stepping up, saving for my own stuff now, not just expecting handouts." His words warmed me more than any apology could. Olivia went even further, calling me one evening after her classes at community college. "I was part of the problem," she confessed, her voice thick with emotion over the line. "I didn't get it until you stood up for yourself that Christmas. Seeing you fight for boundaries, it made me see how we'd all been taking advantage. I'm sorry, Maya. Truly." Of course, the path wasn't a straight line to redemption, there were detours and potholes that tested our progress. Mom slipped once, dipping into the designated repayment fund for a can't-miss sale at her favorite boutique. She confessed tearfully over the phone, expecting leniency. "It was just a dress," she pleaded. "I'll put it back." But I held firm, guiding her through transferring the money back and returning the item. "Boundaries mean consistency, Mom," I said gently. "This is how we build trust." Dad had his moments too, questioning during a call if I really needed every cent back since I seemed fine in school. His words stung, echoing old patterns, but each confrontation made enforcing the rules easier. Practice bred confidence, and soon, these slips became teachable moments rather than crises. Months flew by in a whirlwind of clinicals, exams, and late-night study sessions. Graduation arrived in May, a sunny Chicago afternoon filled with cap tosses and proud cheers. As I walked across the stage to receive my nursing diploma, I scanned the crowd and spotted my family, Dad clapping awkwardly but earnestly, Mom dabbing at her eyes, Jacob and Olivia whooping from the seats. Grandma sat beside them, beaming like she'd orchestrated the whole thing. Post-graduation, Grandma made a bold move. She relocated part-time to Chicago, renting a cozy apartment near my new job at Northwestern Memorial Hospital. "I need a change of scenery," she said with a wink, but I knew it was her way of supporting me while facilitating healing with my parents. Our weekly dinners became safe spaces for reconciliation, conversations flowing from light topics like city life to deeper ones about fairness and forgiveness. By the following Christmas, nearly a year after the blow-up, everything felt transformed. No more debt-fueled extravagance. Instead, we gathered for a modest dinner at my parents' house. The tree was adorned with handmade ornaments, Jacob's quirky clay figures, Olivia's knitted garlands, and gifts were simple, thoughtful, a personalized mug for Dad from his consulting clients, a cookbook for Mom filled with budget-friendly recipes. They'd repaid nearly half the money by then, sticking to the payment plan despite sacrifices like skipping vacations and downsizing their cable package. "It's not easy," Dad admitted over turkey, his voice gruff but sincere. "But it's right. You've taught us that, Maya." That awful Christmas had irrevocably changed me. It unearthed a strength I didn't know I possessed, teaching me to value myself beyond the role of family fixer. I learned that true love requires boundaries, and that consequences, when delivered with compassion, can be the greatest gift. In my nursing career, these lessons proved invaluable. I guided patients through their own family turmoil, spotting enabling patterns in caregivers, nudging them toward healthier limits during tough conversations about end-of-life care or addiction recovery. I knew firsthand that healing often begins with those hard, unflinching truths. Our family ties aren't the blind, unquestioning bonds they once were. The naive trust is gone, replaced by something more cautious yet authentic, a relationship built on mutual respect rather than obligation. My parents still wrestle with money habits, but now they ask for advice instead of assuming entitlement. What do you think about this budget? Mom texts me occasionally, attaching spreadsheets that show real effort. My siblings have become true allies, not unwitting rivals in the family dynamic. Jacob, now thriving in his graphic design program, checks in regularly with updates on his savings goals. Olivia, pursuing her degree in social work, often shares articles on family therapy, sparking thoughtful discussions. And Grandma, at 84, remains the embodiment of resilience. Her courage in standing by me, owning her role in fostering Dad's sense of entitlement through years of quiet indulgence, has shown me the depth of unconditional love. It's not about perfection, it's about growth, even late in life. Sometimes, I reflect on how the best Christmas gifts aren't wrapped in shiny paper or hidden on a luxury cruise ship. They're forged in the fires of tough conversations, the sweat of hard personal growth, and the bravery to say enough to those you cherish most. That simple note on the fridge, the one demanding accountability, sparked my real journey, not to sun-soaked Caribbean beaches, but through the rocky terrain of self-worth and family healing. Have you ever faced family members taking advantage of your kindness? How did you muster the courage to set those essential boundaries? I'd love to hear your stories in the comments below. Let's build a community of support. If my tale resonated with you, give it a like and subscribe for more insights on navigating tough family dynamics and forging stronger, healthier bonds. Thanks for taking the time to listen my story, it means the world. Remember, holding people accountable isn't an act of cruelty, it's often the most profound expression of love. Here's to discovering your inner strength and enforcing those boundaries this holiday season. Cheers to new beginnings.